Hey guys, it's Rayvon from Love Lola, and today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on one of my favorite bags. Go! It's a medium-sized bag. The pattern does just have a handle. I went ahead and added a crossbody because I am just a crossbody chick. If I have a bag on a purse, it's going to be a crossbody. So in my tutorial today, I will be showing you how I modified it to get straps added to it, and also how to make those straps. First off, it's such an easy bag to make. It doesn't take very much fabric. It comes together very, very quickly. Wow! This is a free pattern from Mabel. I mean, from Swoon. Like, can you believe it? Like, I would pay good money for this bag, for this pattern. But Swoon, they're nice enough to offer it for free. And they were cool enough to let me do a tutorial. So thank you, Swoon, so much. Try it on for you. I'm going to step up. Okay, here we go. Isn't it so cute? I love this bag. I mean, if you want to feel fancy, you know, grab it by the handle. If you want to be super casual like me, it's perfect. However you wear it, it's going to look good. Okay. You can make it a few different ways. You can do it with a turn lock like I did, or if you want to, you can do just a snap. You know, it's a lot of different ways to modify it. So, you know, just get into it and do you. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, guys, for today's bag, we are going to be using about a third yard of exterior and lining. Actually, you know what? I'll just put a link for everything that I use down below so that I don't take too much time talking about everything. We can get this video going. But anyway, I'm going to be using this purple vinyl for the exterior, this black waterproof canvas for my lining. I'm going to be using some, I think it's Peltec 71 as a stabilizer, and some good old SF101 as my interfacing. For my hardware, I'm going to be using a turn lock for the flap. I also have these cute little like triangle D-rings that I'm going to use to attach my handle. These little D-rings are going to be used for the strap, and these little swivel hooks are going to be used for the strap. I only have this here because I'm going to break down and use a piece of this chain for my strap. I like to do a fabric strap with a little bit of, you know, of a chain hardware. I just think it looks really cute. So you don't need both. I'm going to break it down later to make more sense once you see it. And then, of course, I have my little Love Lola name tag. And, yeah, so let's get started. I always trace my pattern pieces from the front because you want to be able to place it, you know, if you care, exactly where you want it to be. Like if you want this little part to show on the bottom of the flap or on the top, however you want it. It's just easier to trace it from the front. So go ahead and, you know, place them exactly where you want them to be and get it traced from the front side. Okay, for your strap, it really depends on how long or how short you want it to be for your chain links. So if I was making this for myself, I probably wouldn't even add any chain because this would be long enough for me because I'm super short and I like my purses to fit high on my hip. But whenever I'm making a bag for an order, I don't know how tall they are. I don't know if they like it to hang really low on their thigh. You know, I just don't know. So I always just kind of do extra. I try to do about between 56 and 58 inches for a crossbody. So this strap that I made today is about 54 inches. So I'm going to add about, I'm going to add about 4 inches of chain. So it's going to make the strap actually a little bit longer, probably about 62 inches. I don't know. I really am not very, I really don't get too specific when it comes to the straps. As long as they are at least 56 inches, I just kind of go with the flow. So you just have to figure out how long you want your strap to be. And then, you know, if you're using hardware, then you can add the length of the strap to the length of the hardware, the chain that you add, and make sure that that total is the length that you want it to be. I feel like I'm saying a lot of words and over explaining it. I think you guys know what I'm trying to say. All right, so I'm just gonna grab, you saw what I did. Just use these pliers to get inside of the link and open it up a little bit. Okay, the first thing we're gonna do is take our strap and figure out which side you want to be the top. And you're just going to bring it up and over that little little piece of metal. And then you can either go to the machine and, you know, add a seam right there, or you can do a rivet, whatever you prefer. I'm going to go to the machine and just add a seam. I've got that sewn down. Now take your strap and make it wrong side facing up, keeping it straight with the wrong side facing up. Go all the way down, and then grab your D-ring with your D-ring upside down. So the flat part is facing up and the curve is facing down. Just put your strap through that and bring it back around to the D-ring. Then you're just going to bring it up through the adjuster and down. Okay. And then take the other end and with your D-ring facing up, just place it through there and bend it under. And now I'm going to go over to the machine and add a stitch to that. Okay, grab your chain, one of the pieces that was open, and you might have to open a little bit more to be able to, and just place it around the D-ring. Grab some pliers and be super careful because you don't want to scratch up your hardware, okay? And just gently close it. Okay, now open the other end. Place it over your swivel hook. Repeat. There's your strap. Okay, grab your handle exterior piece and your glue gun pieces, your stabilizer pieces, and go ahead and mark the center down your handle both ways, and then mark the center piece for your stabilizer. And we're going to place it not all the way up to the line because we don't want it to be too tight. We're going to just scoot it down a little bit. So we don't want the top of the stabilizer touching the line, the midpoint line. We're going to scoot it down, you know, kind of center it on that 1/8 inch area, okay? So you're centering your stabilizer just like that on both sides, okay? And then we're just going to glue it in place. Go ahead and interface. Take your handle and bend it in half. Okay, now we're going to go to the machine and we're going to top stitch about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Handle, I keep my strings long because I am going to tie them. I don't want the front and back stitching to show, so just make sure that your thread, I think I said needle, make sure your thread is a little long so that you can tie it. Okay, very quickly, I'm going to just get a needle so that I can take those pieces of thread, bring them to the center, and tie them in a knot. Make sure that you go ahead and clip all of your pieces at the midpoint. Just fold it in half, find it, clip it. It's just going to make your life easier when you start piecing this together. We're going to take our gusset pieces and put them right side together. And then we are going to sew that at 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm at a 4 for my stitch length. Make sure that you are back stitching just a bit at the beginning and the end. Okay. Then we're gonna just flip that over. Press those pieces open. And we're going to top stitch on both sides of the seam at 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to grab my flap, my stabilizer pieces. If you notice, for the top stabilizer piece, one piece is slightly longer than the other, okay? The piece that's longer, that piece is going to go towards the bottom, okay? So the shorter piece is going to go towards the top, the longer piece on the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and situate that at 1/2 inch down from the top. And then just kind of eyeball it to see, you know, make sure it's centered. That looks good to me. I'm going to grab my glue gun. Y'all don't laugh at my gun. She's been through a lot, but this is my baby. Okay, now we're going to grab our bottom piece. And same thing, we're going to position it so that the bottom is 1/2 inch. So there's our 1/2 inch mark. And then we're going to just put it centered as best as we can. We're going to go ahead and just glue that on. Go ahead and grab your flap, the lining, and turn it so that the right side is facing up. Then we're just going to measure, find the center of it. I've already got my centers marked, so I'm just going to fold it to get a little crease. I'm going to measure up on the center 1.5 inches. And I'm going to mark it. Then just grab the washer, center it over that mark. I'm going to get a little piece of stabilizer and do the same thing. If you want to put some kind of fray corrector or anything on that, you can. I never do, but it doesn't hurt. All right, and then you're going to grab male part of the snap. Place it in there. Take this and place it on the back. Actually, I'm going to put the washer on first. Get a little bit of interfacing and just cover that up. Grab one of your main panels and you're going to make a mark. You're going to find the center. So go ahead and line up the center marks. There we go. And then we're going to measure down 2 inches. 1, 2. The panel already has stabilizer on it, so you don't need to do that step. All right, that's it. Okay, grab your flap lining and your flap exterior And you're going to take them and you're going to place them right sides together. Right sides together. And go ahead and clamp them all the way around. If you're new to sewing curves and you want to mark a line, you can do that if it makes you more comfortable. You know, grab the ruler. So this seam allowance is going to be 1/2 inch and mark 1/2 inch. So if you see, it's going to be right there. Go around every now and then and just make a little mark. There's nothing wrong with that. It takes a little longer, but if it makes you feel more comfortable, if you're not sewing a lot of curves and you want to make it perfect or as close to perfect as possible, go ahead and draw some dots on there. Measure it. It's cool. You know, and eventually you won't have to do that, but until you get to that point, it's okay to do it. I'm going to go ahead and trim that down just a little bit to about 1/8. And I'm going to snip just a little bit around the corners. I'm going to flip it around really quick. Go. Look at her. She's so sexy. I love it. All right, and try to just push those seams as flat as you can. I'm the queen of a hammer, so I am going to very gently just try to get the seams a little bit flatter. I'm sure there are tools. I know there are tools made for doing this, but I just grabbed this hammer out the hubby's tool case, and it works just great for me. He has like 10 hammers. I don't think he's even noticed that this has been missing for a year. It's mine's now. Okay, so anyway, and now we're going to go back over and do a 1/8 of an inch, or as close as you can get to the edge. Base the top of your flap. We're going to measure up 1 inch from the bottom of the flap and center. Take a ruler and align it with that line going down the center of the bag all the way down, and that should be your center. I'm going to go ahead and mark up 1 inch from the bottom of the flap, up 1 inch. All right, so this is going to be 1 inch up, and I know that it's centered, so I'm just going to put a little mark right there with my pen. And I know that's where I want the center of my turn lock to be. Now I'm going to grab my turn lock, and I'm going to place that, make sure that middle dot is right in the middle of my turn lock. Also want to make sure that my turn lock is straight, so we're going to go ahead and line this back up again. Place that on the center of the dot. Let's try this one more time. All right, there we go. Place this around the center of the dot, and then I'm going to put my ruler down, looking at those grid lines to make sure that they are staying straight, because I don't want a lopsided turn lock. That's the worst. All right. Everything looks pretty even. Now I'm going to just draw a line, or I'm just going to follow the metal to mark where I'm going to be cutting. So I'm going to mark around here, and then I'm going to mark in this hole and in the other hole. Okay. And then I'm just going to draw and connect this. Bam, 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 bam. In my experience, I always wind up having to cut larger than what I've marked. So now I just go ahead and draw a little bit of a larger, the same shape, but just make it a little bit larger because it's going to wind up having to happen anyway. So I'm going to go a little bit further out than I originally did. And I'm going to go a little bit wider than I originally did. You do what makes you comfortable. If you don't want to start off adding extra, go ahead and follow the original line. But I promise you're going to have to add to it. All right, there we go. Now I'm going to grab my seam ripper and I'm just going to rip right around that symbol. I mean, what I drew. Just take your time. Be gentle with it. Try to squeeze it as you're doing it because there's so many layers. It just helps it if you squeeze it. It helps make sure that you're cutting in the same spot on all the layers. All right, let's just have a little look at how it's looking. Now, if you put that down and you can still see fabric behind those holes, that means you need to make it a little wider. You see how it's still showing fabric? You shouldn't be able to see fabric underneath. All right. I think I finally got it. So now I'm just going to take the back piece and place it right over those holes. If you want, you can go ahead and add a little bit of Beacon 3-in-1. You don't have to. But if you got it, it won't hurt. Now place your back piece on. Line the holes up. Grab a screw. And tighten it just a few turns, not all the way. Grab the other one. Not all the way yet. First, we want to go to the other side and check it out. Make sure that it's straight. It looks a little crooked, so since the screws aren't tight, you can still adjust it until you get it just right. Take the time to adjust it because it doesn't matter how beautiful your wallet is or whatever bag you're making if the turn lock on the front is lopsided. Nobody wants it, you know? Don't do that. Take the time. Make sure that it's lined up nice and straight. And this one looks good. You can still adjust it because you haven't tightened the screw all the way. Now, once you've got it where you want it, turn it back around and now give it everything you got, okay? Get it as tight as you possibly can because we don't want this to come out. And once you've tightened it, turn it over and have another look because things may have shifted as you were using all of that force. This looks pretty good. I'm happy with her. And that's it. There goes our turn lock. One, two. This is where we're going to be putting the bottom part of our turn lock. We're going to take that piece and I'm going to try to get my prongs as straight as possible. And then I'm going to simply place them right over the middle piece of that. So I'm going to center this line down the center of this, basically. Here we go. Now we've already put stabilizer on the back, so we're good. Make sure you get it all the way in there. I'm going to get our washer. Just place it over wherever it fits. It doesn't really matter which holes you use. So I'm going to go down 1.5 inches. So that's where I'm going to place my tag. Know that that's the center of my bag. So I'm going to place it centered, and then I'm just going to grab a pen and draw my 2 dots. And measure down from the top 1 1/4 inch. So there's 1 and there's 1/4. Perfect. Okay, and then take your handle, place it up, scoot it over to where it's touching the seam, the top stitching from that you did on your flap. Okay. Once you have it there, make sure that you have that top 1 1/4 mark. Push down with your ruler so that you can push your handle against that, because you want to make sure that your handle doesn't go off, you know. So whenever you punch the hole, make sure that it's at a straight line. All right, and then clamp it there. I'm going to be punching holes. I'm going to go in about 1/4 of an inch for my first hole, and just try to line it up as good as possible, the midpoint, you know. So this is a 1 inch handle, so you want it to be at about 1/2 of an inch. You can measure it, or you can just eyeball it. I'm going to eyeball it because I like to live dangerously. Right there. If it didn't go through all the way, that's fine. You'll have an indentation now. You can just go ahead and adjust it again. Perfect. If you use too much interfacing like I did, slide it in from the other side. I kind of went crazy with my interfacing on this one because I wanted my handle to be really solid. But because we didn't put the interfacing all the way to the end, it's a little bit thinner on the outside, so you'll be able to fit it in that way. All right. And then we're just going to push this over as tight as we can get it, leaving room to, you know, still push that down. And then go ahead and check again that it is straight. Clamp it over here just to hold on to it. All right, and just do the same thing on the other side. There we go. There's the flap. Isn't it so cute? So cute. All right. You can go ahead and add some little snips along your gusset and also along the panel to make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick. Okay, and these little snips are just going to make it a little bit easier to be able to go ahead and get the curve sewn. Just makes it a little bit easier. Grab one of your main panel pieces. It truly doesn't matter which one. I'm going to do this one because I have it in my hand. We've already marked the center pieces. So what we're going to do is place your pieces centered and right sides facing each other. Go ahead and clamp them together. Now, if your gusset winds up being a little bit off from your back panel, it's really not that big of a deal. I'll know next time to make my seam allowance a little bit smaller down here when I connect the gussets, and that'll give me a little bit more length. But for today, it's not a big deal. What I'll do is just measure across the top and trim that off so that it's straight all the way across. But we'll do that later. So don't worry about it. It's no big deal. Now we're going to go over to the machine and sew it at 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now this bag can be tricky on the corners. See how it slid? And we have that going on. And on this side, we have that going on. Not cool. So I'm going to go ahead and rip out these seams just in this area from about here to about here. And over here, probably about right here to here. And I'm going to readjust that and I'm going to sew that over. Okay, let's get the other side, the other panel added. Same thing, we're going to make sure that our outer fabrics are touching right sides together. So, I'm going to find the middle part that I marked. And I'm going to connect it right sides facing each other to the middle of that gusset. And then I'm just going to start clamping all the way around. Oh yeah, go ahead and clip those edges. This time I'm going to sew it with the gusset going down. Last time I did it facing up and I don't like the way the curves worked out. So I'm going to try it this time with the gusset facing down. All right, let's flip this baby right side out. Really get in there and use your fingers to kind of press those seams out as much as possible. You already know I'm going to grab a hammer and I'm going to try to get my seams as flat as possible. Do it at your own discretion. Alright guys, the flap is attached. Look how cute. Just like that. Yeah, we're almost done now. We are basically going to do the exact same thing that we just did to the gusset. That we just did to the main panel. So, oh look, I didn't mark my midpoints. See? I told you it would bite you in the butt if you don't do it. You're going to grab your main panel and your gusset piece, and you're going to lay your main panel right side up, and then take your gusset and lay it right side down so that right sides are touching, and find the midpoints on both and line them up. Again, if you would like to snip it a little bit to help you get around those corners, especially with waterproof canvas. Waterproof canvas doesn't have much give. And I can tell you right now, if that's what you're using, it is going to bunch up on those curves. It's just what it is, guys. It's life. It's going to happen. It's okay. It is okay. I don't think I've ever heard anyone be like, I love my bag, but did you look on the inside where the curves were? It looked like it was bunchy. Nobody cares, dude. It's cool. All right, so we're gonna go and we're gonna sew these together. at 1/2 inch seam allowance. When you get down past about here, you can go in a little bit further than 1/2 inch, just so that it's not baggy inside of your bag. But don't go crazy with it. I remember when I first heard someone say that, I was like, oh, go in. And I was like, and it was like when I put my hand in the bag, you can tell that obviously was way more room. There should have been more space. But I had, you know, gone crazy with going up on my seam, and it was really stupid. So go up a little bit, but just don't go crazy with it. To trim my seam allowance down to about 1/8 of an inch. I'm also going to trim down any excess from the top, from the gusset. I have a little bit. So now we're going to take our exterior bag right side out, and we're going to take our lining, which is going to be wrong side out, and we're going to place the exterior inside of the lining, and we're going to make sure that we tuck this flap down in between the layers. It's going to feel like it's not going to fit, but it's okay, it's going to fit. And you're going to be smushing this handle. It's going to just feel like you're doing a lot, and you're not going to want to do it, but it's okay. Smush the handle, smush the flap, do what you got to do, and get this inside of the lining. Okay, so once again, the exterior is going to be right side out. The lining is going to be wrong side out, and we're going to tuck this inside the lining, and then we're going to pin all around the top. All right, let's go. Again, it's going to seem like the lining isn't able to come up high enough to match up with the exterior, but you just have to smush it in there and pin it and just make it stay. Like, just don't be scared. So I'm going to start with the front. I'm going to line up my midpoints, my little snippets on the lining and the main, and I'm going to clamp that, and I'm just smushing that exterior inside as hard as I can. Okay, and then I'm going to find the midpoints on the side gussets. Same thing, just push it in there as hard as you can, line that up, and pin it. Same thing on the other side. Get those midpoints matched up. There we go. And pin it. And then for the back. There we go. All right. Once you have those 4 pieces pinned, now we are going to just go and pin around the entire bag. So what I like to do is leave a little bit more than what the directions say to leave. I'm going to leave it open from one end of my gusset to the other side of the gusset, just to give me more room to get this baby flipped out. So we're going to sew around the entire top except for the front side. So the side that has the side without the flap, you're going to leave an opening however big you want to leave it. And you're not going to sew that down, okay? So just to help myself remember, I'm going to put an X, like don't sew over this part, leave it open. I'm going to trim down the seam allowance to about 1/8 of an inch everywhere except where we're going to be turning it out. Okay, guys, moment of truth, we're almost done. We're going to flip this bag out. And then just go out and smooth along your seams. just to get that shape back. Grab your stabilizer pieces and let's get them tucked in. If you want to, you can go ahead and secure your stabilizer with a little bit of fabric glue. Okay, now use your fingers to really try to press those seams as flat as possible. You already know. I'm going to grab my hammer, I'm going to whack my seams to get them as flat as possible. Do it at your own discretion. Alright, now we are going to try to get this lining and our exterior fabric as flush as we can, because you really don't want that lining to show from when you're looking at the outside of the bag. So just really try your best to roll that lining over to the inside. And once you've got it in there really good, we're going to just clip all the way around. Now this front piece, what you're going to do is just bend your lining in and your exterior in. Sometimes I will go and clamp my exterior separately from the lining just to try to get it as straight as possible. Because sometimes right here where it was connected, it'll try to curve up a little bit. And we don't want that to happen. This is the front of our bag. We need this to look as perfect and as professional as possible. So I'll do it separately and then I'll go back and add the lining to it. Just pull that tight and then you should be able to bend the lining in. That part's easy. Okay, and now when you do that, just make sure that there's no kind of just weird wobbly stuff going on right here. You want this to be straight across, okay? This is the front of your bag. This is the most important part. So let's finish strong and, you know, make it look good. All right, and we're going to top stitch around the entire top of our bag, even over this back part, okay? At about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, here we go. I have my stitch length on between 4 and 4.5. And I am going to start right on the back, right before I get to the gusset. And I'm top stitching at about 1/8 of an inch. All right, guys, there she is. That's it. We're done. Look at her. Yeah. Let's grab those straps we made earlier. Look at her. Yes. Yes. She's cute. You're cute. You're cute. All right. And I made this cute little wallet kind of coin purse thingy to go with her. So let's get her attached. Look at that. Y'all. Wallet purse thingy. It's a pattern that I just drafted. It's super easy. If you're interested in it, go over. I'll have a link. I'm selling this for $1. Just a fun little pattern. I usually make one of these for all of my bag orders just because it's so quick and easy to make, and it just takes the bag up a notch, in my opinion. It's going to take you 20 minutes to make it, and it just, you know, your customer loves to get something free, and it just looks really good, you know. So if you like that, go follow that link. But yeah, this bag is it, honey. So here's her sister. I made it a little bit different. I just changed the hardware a little bit. I wanted to make kind of a fancier version. So that's what I love about this bag. You can modify it, and you know, you can get pretty much whatever look you want out of it. But it's such a great bag. If you haven't already gone over to swoonpatterns.com, you need to go over there and get it. You know, check out that pattern and check out all of them because they actually have a lot of good patterns. I'm working on another one of their bags right now. But yeah, just go to their site, check it out. They got some good stuff.